I bought the house to start over. Divorced at 37. Burnt out from city life. All I wanted was quiet. A place to breathe again. It was a one-story ranch house outside Olympia, Washington. Built in 1953. Ivy climbing the siding. A gravel driveway. Smelled like old wood and rain. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. The first night there, I didn't unpack. I just laid on the floor, arms spread, soaking in the silence. No sirens. No shouting. Just wind. For the first time in months, I slept like a baby. That didn't last long. It started the third night. I woke up around 2:45 a.m. to this faint sound, click, click, click. Not rhythmic. Not mechanical. Just deliberate. Like someone gently tapping metal on wood. I sat up, heart beating faster than it should have. Listened. It stopped. Maybe it was pipes. Maybe the house settling. Old homes do that, right? The next night, same time. Click, click, click. Then silence. I checked every room. Nothing. I even stepped out onto the porch. Nothing but the sound of wind pushing trees around like tall ghosts. I convinced myself it was nothing. A week later, things escalated. I came home from work and found the back door unlocked. I never leave it that way. Inside, nothing looked taken. But little things were off. My kitchen chair slightly pulled out. A cabinet door half open. One of my socks on the hallway floor. Not the pair. Just one. I called a locksmith and had the locks changed the next morning. Still, every night, I barely slept. My eyes burned at work. I kept the lights on all night like some kid afraid of the dark. One night I decided to record it. I placed my phone on the floor by the vent in the hallway and let it run. What I heard the next morning made my stomach drop. It wasn't just clicking. There was breathing. Human breathing. Ragged. What? Close. I played it back 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Nope. Someone, or something, was under my house. I called the police. The responding officer, a younger guy, looked unimpressed as I explained what I'd heard. Animals sometimes get in through the vents, he said. Raccoons, squirrels. They sound human when they're close. I don't think it's an animal. He humored me and walked the property. We checked the crawlspace hatch behind the house. Rusted shut. If someone was under here, he said, tapping the wood with his flashlight, they're gone now. But that night, the clicking was louder. Closer. So I went under. The next morning, fueled by adrenaline and cheap coffee, I pried the hatch open. It groaned like something trying to warn me. I crouched and slipped inside, flashlight shaking in my grip. The crawlspace was barely 3 feet high. Dirt floor. Covers. A smell like wet dog and mildew. 10 feet in I found it. A nest. Old blankets. Candy wrappers. An empty water jug. A torn sweatshirt with faded blood stains. Someone had been living here. I backed out fast, stomach turning. This wasn't a raccoon. I called the cops again. This time, 2 officers showed up. They searched, asked a few questions, took a report. That's all. They didn't seem surprised. You'd be shocked how often this happens, one said. Transient types find a safe place, sneak in and out when you're at work. Sometimes they watch for weeks first. He said it like he was telling me the weather. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, watched for weeks. Had someone been watching me shower? Sleep? I installed cameras around the house the next day. Motion lights. New locks. Reinforced the hatch with screws. For a while, things went quiet. But 2 weeks later, I found a note taped to the outside of my bedroom window. Just 5 words, written in messy block letters. I never really left, smiley face. I moved out that weekend. Sold the place at a loss. I didn't care. I just wanted out. The new owner was a single mother. I warned her. Gave her the full story. She smiled politely, said she'd handle it. I don't know if she ever heard the clicking. I hope she didn't. I should have trusted my gut the first night. The building was old, pre-war Chicago brownstone, faded red brick with black iron steps. The kind of place that looked better in pictures. But rent was cheap, and I was desperate to move out of my ex's place. That apartment felt like a fresh start. Unit 203. The previous tenant left in a hurry, the landlord said. Job transfer. No drama. I didn't ask questions. But now I wish I had. It started small. I'd come home and find things off. Nothing huge. Just weird. Like the cereal box turned the wrong way. My towel folded differently. One time, the toothpaste cap was missing. I figured I was just tired or careless. But I'm not that careless. The first real red flag came 2 weeks in. I'd just gotten home from work. It was dusk. Light bleeding orange through the blinds. I kicked off my shoes and noticed, immediately, my front door didn't click shut like usual. I turned. The deadbolt was unlocked. I always locked it. It was muscle memory. Still, nothing looked touched. My laptop was there. My keys were on the counter. I chalked it up to stress. But the feeling lingered, like stale air in my lungs. Like someone had been there. I told my friend Jess about it over coffee. She laughed it off. Girl, it's an old building. Maybe a maintenance guy came in. No notice. No sign, I said. She raised an eyebrow. You think someone's living in your walls or something? She laughed. I didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening, really listening, to the fridge hum, pipes creak, wind against the windows. And then I heard it. So faint. From the closet. I sat up. Another tap. Like a fingernail brushing wood. I stood. Every part of me telling me don't open it, but I did anyway. Nothing. Just coats and dust. I shut the door and didn't sleep the rest of the night. A few days later, I came home early from work, around 3:30 p.m. sunlight still pouring in. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and felt something shift in the air. Like I just interrupted something. The apartment was silent. But I swear I could feel eyes on me. I backed into the hallway and stood still. That's when I saw it. The closet door in the hallway was slightly ajar. I always close that door. I walked toward it, step by step, heart pounding in my throat. Reached out. Slowly pulled it open. Empty. But something caught my eye. Behind the coats, at the very back, was a small square panel in the wall. Roughly 2 feet wide. Slightly crooked. I reached for it. Tugged. It popped off. Behind it, a narrow crawl space. Just wide enough for someone to slide through. The air from inside was damp. Cold. It smelled like mold and rot. I backed away. I didn't sleep there that night. The next morning, I called the landlord. You knew about this? I asked, pointing to the panel. He blinked. Didn't think anyone found that. Used to be a maintenance crawl. No one's used it in decades. I asked about the previous tenant. He paused. Samantha? She left in a rush. Said the place gave her the creeps. Wouldn't elaborate. I didn't ask anything else. Later that day, I grabbed a flashlight and looked inside the wall. I wish I hadn't. 10 feet in I found trash. Candy bar wrappers. A cheap plastic lighter. An old blanket. And a Polaroid. It showed a woman sleeping in a bed, this apartment's bed. Taken from across the room. It wasn't me. It wasn't Samantha. It was someone else. I pulled back, gagging. Then I noticed something else. Fresh footprints in the dust. Whoever had been there recently. I called the cops. They checked the crawl space, the building, everything. Nothing turned up. No fingerprints. No signs of forced entry. Could be a squatter, one officer said. Or someone with a key. Change your locks. That was it. I had the locks changed that afternoon. Bought a camera. Slept with a knife under my pillow. A week later, I checked the camera footage. At 3:17 a.m., the closet door creaked open. No one walked out. But the door opened. Then, 30 minutes later, it slowly shut. I moved out that day. I left furniture behind. Canceled the lease. Didn't care. I stayed at Jess's for a while, then found a newer building with sealed vents and concrete walls. A month later, I got curious and searched apartment 203 online. Buried in old news clippings, I found something. In 2008, a tenant reported a break-in. A man had been living in the crawlspace, watching her for weeks. She only found out when he tried to crawl into her room while she was sleeping. She moved out. He was never caught. The building never mentioned it again. It happened when I was 16. Just me and my mom living in a quiet neighborhood outside Denver. She worked nights at a nearby hospital, or nurse. 12-hour shifts. That meant I was often home alone from dusk until dawn. I wasn't afraid of being by myself. Not back then. We had one of those modest suburban homes. Fenced backyard, old dogwood tree by the kitchen window, and a sliding glass door that opened to a small patio. I used to love that door. The backyard felt like a safe little world of its own. Not anymore. It was a Saturday night. Early fall. School was just starting to pile on pressure, and Mom was working a double. I made popcorn and crashed on the couch to binge movies until I passed out. Something dumb and loud was playing. Can't even remember what now. Sometime after midnight, I muted the TV to get up and grab a soda from the kitchen. That's when I heard it. Rattle. I stopped. Tilted my head. Waited. Rattle, rattle. Faint, like someone testing something. Not banging. Not forceful. I walked toward the kitchen, heart picking up a beat. The vertical blinds over the glass door were half open. That's when I saw him. A man. Standing just outside the sliding door. His face partially hidden by the angle of the blinds. A hoodie covering most of his head. Hands pressed against the glass. Fingers splayed. He was staring in. At me. And when he saw me notice him, he smiled. Not wide. Just this twitch at the edge of his mouth. Like he was glad I saw him. I froze. My throat went dry. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. We just stood there, me inside, him outside. Not knocking. Not yelling. Just staring. Smiling. Then he raised one hand and slowly slid something from his sleeve. A screwdriver. He turned it in his fingers, testing the edge against his thumb. Then he leaned down and began fiddling with the lock. That broke the spell. I backed up, silent, and bolted down the hallway into my room. Locked the door. Grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher was calm. I wasn't. Someone's trying to break in. He's right outside my sliding door. I saw his face. He has a weapon. She told me to stay hidden. Officers were on the way. I pressed my ear to the floor. Listened. Nothing. No glass breaking. No footsteps. Just silence. 7 minutes later, red and blue lights lit up my window. The cops were there. I ran to the door, met them out front. They searched the yard. Looked for footprints. Checked the side gates. One was unlocked. He probably came through there. But he was gone. Vanished like smoke. No signs of forced entry, the officer said. You sure he didn't just try the handle? He had a screwdriver, I whispered. He smiled at me. They didn't find the tool. No prints on the glass. Nothing on the camera I didn't even know we had above the garage. Just a blurry shape crossing the lawn. That was it. They said he was likely a would-be burglar. Told me to keep the doors locked and call if I saw anything else. I wanted to believe that, but deep down I didn't. I couldn't sleep after that. Every creak, every gust of wind made my skin crawl. I kept the lights on. Didn't leave my room. Even during the day, I'd stare at that door and feel like it was watching me. 2 weeks later, it happened again. But this time, it wasn't me. The girl who lived across the street, Kayla, was found dead. She was a year older than me. Quiet. Homeschooled. Her parents were away on business. She was alone that weekend. Her body was found in the kitchen. No signs of forced entry. Nothing stolen. No broken windows. No screaming heard. The sliding door was unlocked. They never caught who did it. That night, I had a panic attack. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Mom rushed home from work and found me curled up in the corner of my room with a kitchen knife in my hand. After that, we moved. No arguments. No second guesses. We left everything behind. That was 8 years ago. I live in a high-rise now. 3rd floor. Windows only. No sliding doors. But sometimes, late at night, I catch myself staring at the balcony glass. Waiting. Just waiting. For a shape to appear. for a smile in the dark, for the sound of metal against glass. Rattle, rattle. Because I know what I saw that night. And I know he wasn't there to steal. He was waiting for something. Or someone.